In this lecture, I will cover the fifth schedule, and after this, in the next lecture, I'll cover PISA Act because there is a relevance, there is a link between PISA Act and the fifth schedule. That is why I'm first covering the fifth schedule. Fifth schedule finds its place in the Article 244, which talks about two schedules. One is fifth schedule, another is sixth schedule. They are appended, they are part of our constitution as fifth and sixth schedule. When you open the constitution, just have a look at them. Now, what is there in the fifth schedule and what is there in the sixth schedule? Sixth schedule covers the tribal areas in four states. One is Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Tripura. So these four states have areas which are covered in this sixth schedule, and that notification is to be issued by the governor. You have district councils there. You have autonomous district councils. I will separately cover sixth schedule. In fact, there is a lecture which compares both fifth and sixth schedule very briefly. You can have a look at that. Now, today's lecture, this lecture is having focus on the fifth schedule. So let me mention what is there in the fifth schedule. Fifth schedule has schedule areas and the scheduled tribes. Scheduled tribes. That is the word used in the constitution. So I am just repeating that. Basically, these are the tribal areas in the 10 states which have been notified under para 6 of the fifth schedule. In the older books, you will find 9 states, but actually there are 10 states now because Andhra and Telangana. Andhra has been split into Andhra and Telangana. The other states are Himachal Pradesh, Odisha, Jharkhand, MP, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Rajasthan. So these states have their pockets of the tribal dominated areas which are falling in the fifth schedule. So there is a separate arrangement which has been kept for the fifth schedule areas, and that arrangement deals with both the executive and the legislative powers of the state government and also the legislative powers of the parliament and also the executive power of the parliament. Now, why do we have such kind of arrangement, say fifth schedule, sixth schedule, a differential kind of arrangement for the tribal society? Just have a look at what is the uniqueness of the tribal society. They have their own social, political, and economic way of life, and there are certain essential elements which we can say is their unique cultural identity, their customary way of settling disputes, then their traditional methods of managing the community resources, they are dependent on the community resources, their traditional method of community resources, and their traditions and customs. So, keeping in view these differential and the unique characteristics of these tribal areas, there is a differential arrangement, administrative and the legislative arrangement, partly covered by the fifth schedule and partly covered by PISA, which PISA I'll cover separately in the next lecture. Now, what is there in the fifth schedule? Fifth schedule has 7 paras, and let me discuss each para briefly. Para 1, and now let me start with para 2. Para 2 says that the executive power of state extends to the fifth schedule areas. which is like the arrangement which was there in the Government of India Act 1935 for the excluded and partially excluded area. I have separately put a lecture on that. For any government, you have both executive power and legislative power, and just try to read Article 162 and Article 73 of the Constitution, which deals with the executive power of this is for the state and this is for the union. So the executive power, I'm not going into this detail. This is also interesting arrangement. This I can have a separate lecture on this. You can meanwhile have just read those two articles. So executive power of the state extends to the fifth schedule, which is mentioned in para 2. Now para 3 is very important because this para 3 is repeatedly mentioned in the second ARC report. Para 3 mandates that governor shall uh, cause make a report on the administration of these fifth schedule areas, and this report goes to the president, and the union government is given executive power over and above the executive power of the state government. Union government has, in fact, the executive power of union government is not there in all the states. There is a limitation. But here the executive power of union has been, it is said that executive power of union extends to giving direction to the state with regard to the outcome of the report. If the reports find something that there is need of certain improvement, then union government can issue executive direction instructions to the state government. That is para 3, which is a very important paragraph. This report is to be provided annually. Now there is a para 4, which is basically about concept of tribal advisory council. So tribal advisory councils are not elected body insofar as election to the advisory council. They are nominated from amongst the MLAs, the scheduled tribe MLAs, and three-fourth of them, three-fourth of the total membership is 25. Out of 25, three-fourth have to be the MLAs